Hello, welcome to Firos's story time with me, Firos. I'm in bed, just lounging around on my bed because I'm too lazy to do anything else. And I also don't want to go downstairs and start a video when my mum could come home at any time and disrupt my flow, and I feel a little bit exposed when my mum's around. I don't like talking about very personal things around my mum, because I feel like she can't handle my more personal truths just from the past. It seems like she can't seem to cope with stuff about my emotions. So with that in mind, I begin a video about my own personal defenses and problems and deficiencies. It's basically like stuff I do that is negative, I suppose. Yeah, or it's stuff that I'm not sure if I'm doing it or not. So it's like self-doubt and blind spots or potential blind spots, areas of imperfection, certainly. So, okay, well, one thing I do is I tend to think that I'm perfect. I tend to carry this protective wall around me that I think I'm perfect. And it seems to be related to my skills. But it's also related to how I see my own personality. I present myself to myself as being a loving person and a caring person and a non-reactive person. So I pride myself on not getting angry at people, for one thing, which creates a defense against that feeling of anger, and it means that I feel repressed anger. So my anger, I find it difficult to express it to other people because I'm trying to maintain this image of being a very virtuous or good person. So in order to keep that image up, I don't allow myself to be angry directly at people. I don't allow myself to shout at people. Very rarely do I allow myself to shout at people, to actually genuinely tell someone off with genuine anger behind it. And that was a major problem for me for the last few years, because it culminated in me just bottling up so much anger. I ended up getting into fights instead, to the point where I was provoking people to fight me and then not fighting back. And that's like the epitome of that same pattern, which is like, I can't express anger, so I will get someone else to express their anger instead, because it will at least soothe that feeling inside me, or somehow release the energy from that repressed anger. So yeah, anger and I have a difficult relationship for sure. Also, my mum and I have a difficult relationship regarding anger. There's been lots of arguments in the past where either one of us has bottled up anger until it's suddenly become an explosion. And so also something I have with my mum is, and with other people as well, is an inability to ask for what I want, or a difficulty in asking for what I want specifically. I find it somewhat of an effort to actually ask for specific actions to be taken. For example, a friend of mine has been helping me do recordings, which is a mutually beneficial thing. It's helping him to improve his skills on his production side, on the music and the recording and production and mixing side. And it's helping me because it's creating a product for me. It gives me the opportunity to record my stuff and get my stuff down to a higher quality than I can do where I am. And it's for free. So it's mutually beneficial for both of us. And yet I find it quite difficult to even just ask him to change certain things, to like, I mean, I can do it, and I have asked him to change those things, but I find there's an internal struggle that I go through, which is something along the lines of answering the question, is it okay for me to ask for this to be changed? And there is a definite need inside me for those things to be changed, because I have a perfectionist streak as well. So this is another deficiency or personality defect or difficulty, defense even, this perfectionism. So going back to what I said at the beginning, I have this image of myself as being a perfect person, which disallows me my anger, for one thing. It also disallows me to ask for help. It also disallows me to appear vulnerable. It disallows me from asking for my needs to be met, because if I had my needs met, it would show that I'm not perfect, because the perfection image is something along the lines of I'm invulnerable. Invulnerable as opposed to vulnerable. Yeah, I'm invulnerable, I'm perfect, I need nothing from anyone, I'm independent of anyone. Whereas the reality of my situation is that I'm not independent of anyone. I'm financially dependent on my parents. I'm also physically dependent in terms of the house situation. So I am dependent on other people. I feel like my emotions are more independent. My ability to regulate my emotions, which I've just started to come to the understanding that regulate means to be able to kind of process and control and know how to deal with your own emotions, like know what to do to sort of balance your emotions, so when they get too much, you know how to vent them or release them or calm them down or whatever. Yeah, but I just learned that term recently, regulate, self-regulate. Can you regulate? Yeah. So another thing I do, which I just demonstrated just there, is I slip into characters and humor as a defense as well. When I start to feel like I'm boring. So maybe this is part of the perfection image as well. Like part of the perfection image is that I'm not boring, that I'm interesting, or that I'm funny. I had this craving for many years to be called funny, to be told that I was funny. For people to just say, yes, you're funny, or you're really funny. And it's almost like making people laugh was not actually even enough. So it was like, I can make people laugh, and I'd be attempting to make people laugh quite often, and I still do that. But it's almost like I just want someone to say, oh, you're really funny. But then sometimes, even when people do say that I am really funny, I reject it, so here's another defect or deficiency. I have a problem handling genuine compliments. I received a set of compliments from one of my friends today, and I did one of the defense strategies, which is to make a joke about it. So I took what he said and I immediately used it as comedy material, rather than acknowledging that he had given me this compliment, and that he was, in a way, he was trying to build me up. And it was almost like I was trying to smash myself down in response to the compliment. So that's something else, that I find it difficult to take genuine praise, and I tend to brush it off or efface myself. And then sometimes I even use the justification of, well, it's not who I am anyway. What I do isn't who I am. But then that's denying there's an impulse to be loved. There's an impulse in me to be cared for, to be appreciated, to be acknowledged. And that leads on to another aspect of my personality defects or whatever, which is I do have an incessant need to be approved of, a need for approval, a need for acknowledgement. And what happens with that one is that if I don't get acknowledged, then I get angry. That's true. Yeah. And another one, this is another one I'm probably doing now, which is the laughing. I probably laugh to avoid sadness. I probably laugh to avoid shame. And I laugh to avoid deeper emotions. But there does, maybe here's another aspect, which is excuses. So another aspect is excusing my negative parts, and always trying to counterbalance negative expressions with positive ones. So I try to appear balanced, but not only appear balanced, but I try to be balanced, which I think actually, if I'm trying to be balanced, what I'm doing is I'm not giving either side of myself, the good side and the bad side, I'm not giving either of them enough airtime, because I'm constantly trying to balance the one with the other. So if I say something bad, I'll try and balance it with positivity. If I say something good, I'll try and balance it with negativity. So I'm always trying to balance positivity and negativity in my statements, or about myself, or about the world, whatever. I'm always trying to seek a balance, which is a kind of peacekeeping role, I think, is what it is. It's like if someone's saying something bad, I want to counterbalance it or counteract it with negative. Wait, sorry. If someone says something negative, I want to say something positive. If someone says something positive, I want to reject it and turn it into the negative. So I'm always seeking balance. And maybe that's not a negative thing in itself, but I think that it is negative in the way that it doesn't give either the positivity or the negativity its full say, because it's cutting each response short. That's what I'm saying. So if I feel negative, I feel bad, I will try and cut it short and improve it or change it with the positivity. And if I feel too positive, I'll try and bring it down or rein it in somehow with a negative aspect, try and remain in balance. So that means that I never fully feel the negative feelings strongly, and I never fully feel the positive feelings strongly either. So I'm in balance between them, which can be a state of somewhat numbness. I don't feel numb because I'm constantly feeling things, but I feel like there's deeper emotions inside me that I'm not able to get to, because I've got this surface level of defenses that I can't get past. So yeah, and going back to the other one that I was just saying, which is about acknowledgement. So one of my lifelong needs and drives has been for acknowledgement, but there's another aspect to it. The flip side of the acknowledgement is that I live in craving for it. So even when I am acknowledged, something won't accept it. Something won't say, yes, that's what I wanted, yes, that's enough. There's a part of me that says that's not enough acknowledgement. If I get a little bit of acknowledgement, I feel empty afterwards. So I want to have, it's like I want to have continuous stream of acknowledgement. And I tried to go around it with self-acknowledgement or self-love, right? So maybe this is a personality defect as well, this nose thing. I don't actually know what it is. Yeah, so I tried to work around this need for acknowledgement by getting self-acknowledgement, which would mean to listen to myself, to read my own work, to read my own feelings, to read my own journals, to watch my own videos, to listen to my own music, to try and give myself my own attention, basically. But what I've found through doing that is that it still doesn't quite fit the need. It doesn't fit the need of someone holding space for me so that I don't have to do it for myself. Because for me, it's like it's like I can only give myself so much love. It's like I'm limited from my own perspective or from my own ability to give myself love, and it can't go any further. Like I can't it's like I max out. Like there needs to be love coming from outside as well. So it's not that I cannot fully fulfill that need of love just by myself. I can't do it by I can't do it by spending time alone. I can't do it by listening to my own works. I can't do it by being in solitude. That's the same thing. But so that's part of it as well, is the need for external acknowledgement, and that ruptures my sense of perfection as well. So it's hard for me to ask for external acknowledgement, and it's hard for me to receive external acknowledgement because it proves that I'm vulnerable. It proves that I need things from other people. And part of my perfection aspect, my perfection personality image, is that I don't need anything from anyone. And I am self-supporting and self-loving and self-caring, and because I've come through all these struggles and traumas, and I've earned my selfhood, and I've earned my own personal power. But that feels like it's a level of growth that I need to move beyond. It's like that served me well for a period of time, to learn those skills of self-regulation and self-understanding and self-power and self-knowledge and self-motivation. Like I'm well self-motivated. All my projects and ideas come from within me, as in I'm able to move myself on to do the work that I want to do. I still get ideas from other people and from my external environment, but what I mean is, like, I rely on myself to motivate myself. I don't need anyone to tell me what to do. And now I'm just feeling like we're moving on to another personality issue, which is an issue against authority, an issue with being told what to do, an issue against being controlled. So I reject things that I perceive, communication I perceive, and actions I perceive to be controlling of me. So I'm fiercely fighting to maintain my sense of independent will and independent control over my own destiny. And here's another aspect: control. So I want to be in control. I have a control freak side. I have a controlling side, which is where I want things done my way. So imagine that. You've got a controlling side, and yet you cannot, you find it difficult to ask for the things that you want to be in control. So I've got two conflicting forces. One is the need to have control, the need to have stability as well, and the need to get what I want, or the need to have things right. And then the conflict of personality, which says, but you're not allowed to ask for that. So you're not allowed to state your needs. You're not allowed to ask for what you want. So it's a frustrating situation to be in, whereby you have this need for things to be right, yet you feel you cannot ask for them to be made right. So, yeah. So those are some of them. And another aspect is fear of rejection. Massive fear of rejection. But maybe it's not rejection, actually. Sorry, it's criticism. It's criticism. So I have developed massive avoidance strategies around criticism. Initially, that was helpful because I had received a hell of a lot of criticism. So it was a self-loving step, or it was a self-nurturing step to remove criticism from my life. Because I had never had the ability to remove criticism. I'd never had the ability to stand up for myself, because growing up I got bullied a lot. And I never had the confidence or the ability to make comebacks, or to set boundaries, or to stop people, or even to fight people if they were in my space or giving me a hard time or just picking on me or anything. I never had that self-confident ability to assert myself and my boundaries as to what was acceptable and what was not acceptable. All right. So when I learned finally to tell people to fuck off, that was a new learning. And I'd never been able to just actually have the courage to just tell people to fuck off. And then it went too far, basically. And I told everyone to fuck off. That's my mum come in. Now my flow is fucked because I feel fear. Well, maybe I'll tell more about this another time. I live in fear of my mum. Only with regard to my deepest personal truths. But I still live in fear of her.